All right, so we've gone through, we've sort of moved through these projects, we're looking at our in-focus view. We've just created a new task for each view that just sets the start date for the actual project. Now we're ready to plan the actual work for these projects. So let's say, for example, we have new funnel for enrollees. What do we need to do? And I'm just going to copy and paste across a couple of things here that I've added. We need to write some emails. We need to choose some graphics. Then let's say we've got here, I've got create wireframe. Let's say we need to decide on menus. Perhaps someone needs to select some images. Oops, click the wrong one. All right, so I've just dumped in some sort of pretend work here, and you can see what happens. Straight away we see, hang on, this task needs an assignee, needs a deadline, and needs a time estimate. So straight away we're getting notified that we've got empty fields in these. So there's two ways that we can complete these fields. I can open the task and I can say, okay, the deadline for finishing this task, that is going to be on Thursday of next week. The time estimate, I think this is going to take 1.5 hours to get done. Now, when we're dealing with time estimates, this is a decimal value. So 1.5, meaning 1.5, is an hour and 30 minutes. So if I wanted this to be 15 minutes, that's a quarter of an hour. So we're dealing with 0.25 is a quarter, right? So this is 0.25 is a quarter. So that means 15 minutes, which is a quarter of an hour. 0.5 is obviously half an hour. So when I put 1.5, I'm actually putting 1.5 hours, 1.5. So this is a decimal, 1.5 hours. Then I'm going to assign that. Let's say I assign that to myself. So that's all good. I've put the deadline, I've put the time estimate, and I've put the assignee there. So you can see here now those prompts are no longer there. So that's one way of entering. And you can also see that the sort order of this is actually ascending in terms of due date. So this will automatically sort with the oldest to the top, and we go down and we can see here, because we created that start task at the beginning in the previous video, we can see that this project currently, it's going to run for 6 days and it's got 1.5 hours work to do, but this is the deadline date for the project, which, because it's the deadline date that's most in the future for this task. So whichever date on all of the tasks is most in the future, that becomes the deadline date automatically for this. So we can see the duration of the actual project, the current workload that we've got, and so on. So here you can see that I can open the task and fill out those things, but you can also see down here, we've got another view here, tasks lacking information. You can see all of these are lacking information. So if I click on that view, you can see I get a list across everything of all the tasks that are sort of lacking information here. So it's just another way of viewing this. So if I go in here and let's say I assign some of this stuff. Let's say I assign this to me. Let's just allocate this to Joey, allocate that to Jessica, allocate that to Elle. Doesn't really matter who's doing this stuff, I'm just giving examples. So you can see here that now, as I do that, you can see that these sort of prompts, this tells you what's empty and what's not. It's like a way of enforcing that workflow. So all of these tasks here, they're all sitting here, right? And see how they all have information lacking? So if I go to my active work, this is the only task that I'm going to see. All of these are going to be hidden from my view because they haven't been effectively filled out. So I come back to this view should be kept empty at all times. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill this up, and then in the next video, this will be empty because it'll have no sort of missing fields, and we'll go on to the next steps.